Welcome to the 90th edition of Spooky Reviews from Spooky Ventures. This time around, I'm going to be talking about the DVD release of The Beast Beneath from Wild Eye Releasing. This movie includes some names I'm quite familiar with. First, we have Scream Queen legend Brinke Stevens. Her role in this film is perhaps a little more than a cameo, but definitely not a feature performance. Jen Nangle, who I've reviewed in the past and talked about in July's Spooky News, actually, has a role that, while not a starring one, is certainly meatier than the one that Stevens' character has. There's also a cool Easter egg in the movie surrounding Nangle. At one point, one of the characters is watching a horror film. That horror film is being introduced, and in that introduction, Queen Malvolia is talked about. Well, Malvolia is Nangle's horror host persona. Another interesting little tidbit about that scene is the character itself. The role is played by horror producer Sean C. Phillips. You might recall that I reviewed his movie Amityville Karen some months back, and that movie also included Nangle in the cast. So it's kind of a neat little connection, just my earlier review. The description on the back of the box says, after an earthquake opens a fissure in a desert park, a 2,000-year-old tentacled beast is awakened and is very hungry for human flesh. Several visitors to the park and locals from a nearby town must now fight to send the beast back into the bowels of hell from where it came. I really wish the movie made that description clear. That would have been a different film if it had, and I think a better movie. What we do get is a creature feature, so that part's accurate. Also, nothing in the film contradicts that description. It's just that some of the nuances of it won't really be revealed just by watching the movie. I was definitely a monster kid growing up, so this is exactly the kind of thing I really like. There are some things here that do really work well. One is a scene very early when you can see the first stirrings of the monster with some little tendrils moving around. It's sort of among a lot of vegetation and the like, so it's not all that easy to see, but it definitely allows the imagination to fill in some blanks and get you interested in what's going to happen. Some of the kills in this are almost jump scares. They seem to come out of nowhere. I will say that while the effects here are definitely super low budget, they work better than those in a lot of micro-budget movies do. Where I think the movie falters is in the actual story. I mean, there are these long scenes of people walking or just scenery, and they're really extended scenes. The screen time that takes up could have been used to develop some of the history of the monster or better round out some of the characters. What we get feels at times more like a loosely connected series of monster kills. Again, it's not bad in that regard at all, but a little more story development would have certainly improved it. Also, the ending just sort of comes out of nowhere and leaves the viewer a little shocked, and not necessarily in a good way. I also wanted to mention one interesting thing I picked up on. Here we have this beast, which is a predator, who has ties to seawater. That's actually mentioned in the film. And it's killing people in a town. The sheriff gets in touch with the mayor because he says things should be shut down. The mayor refuses to shut anything down because it's, quote, tourist season. Now, that's a spot-on reference to Jaws, and I really enjoyed it. Overall, I think this is a creature feature that has some charms while also having some issues. A lot of the performances are of the typical super low budget film quality, but there are some exceptions. Even the least skillful acting here is above the level one expects with things like this. Besides, you don't come to a movie like this looking for Oscar-winning performances. The only bonus features here are some trailers, so the feature is pretty much the whole thing. I definitely found it more enjoyable than not, but it had plenty of room for improvement. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web.
Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.